Hi, I'm Bill Voorhees, the inventor of Budget Cash Flow King. And we're proud to tell you about the product that we invented today. About 6 years ago, we realized that we had a need, and necessity is the mother of invention. And we were having a difficult time. We owned quite a few small businesses, and we were trying to determine where we were at on a month-by-month, week-by-week, year-by-year basis with our companies. Well, it was easy at the beginning of the year to do a budget and what we projected, but as you well know, things change. They change continually and unexpectedly. Well, what happened with us is we were running new budgets and new updated reports on a weekly or monthly basis to track where we were at, what the net effects would be for our company if we added help, if we bought a new piece of machinery. And many times, as all small businessmen know, you rob from Peter to pay Paul. Maybe you have one company that's doing well that has some extra cash. And I can remember calling my wife, Michelle, on the phone and saying, gee whiz, can we pull money from this company to fund this other company that's having difficulty to buy this piece of equipment? And it became very, very difficult to track the effects between one company and the next. And that overall affected our personal budget, because when you're in small business, it makes a difference. That's where your livelihood comes from, the income from your different businesses. So I started to think, how could I put together a program or some device that would let me project my beginning budgets for each company and for my individual budget on a yearly basis, but that would automatically change and it would automatically update as we entered what I actually spent or actually received on a month-to-month basis. And then we realized, like a professor of mine in college once told me, he said, cash flow is king. And he said, you can lose money for a long, long time and still do just great in business. And we looked at him and we thought he was crazy. And we said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, yeah, if your dad gave you $50 million, you could lose money for a long time in business and do absolutely great. And he was talking about cash flow. If you have cash, either from an inheritance or if you have cash from other sources that you start a business with, you can lose cash, you can lose income or lose money for quite some time and not have it negatively affect you, where you vacation, what you eat, where you live. So you always need to keep an eye on what is my cash position. I bring this to light also. In a lot of small companies, your income may not come in until the end of the year. Maybe it's a seasonal business that relies on Christmas sales or snow plowing, some type of business like that, where if you could get to the end of the year, you might have enough money that you could have paid your bills, but the problem is the bills came due before your income came in. Your income and your expenses don't always line up. So in this program that I invented, I wanted to track both my projected budgets, where I was at the beginning of the year, have them adjust in real time to my updated projected budget, and I needed to track what my cash position would be for the upcoming months based upon my actual income and actual expenses. Seemed like a tall order, and we worked literally now, it's been 6 years, but we put together a program that has unbelievably worked and helped us through these hard times in the economy to be able to plan ahead. Small business person wonders if he hires help what the net effect will be. You can do it with this. If an individual that's just doing his own home personal budget, what happens if he has to take a 20% pay cut in his job? What net effect will that have? What happens if he has unexpected medical expenses? All these contingencies can be put into the program we've developed. We call them what ifs, and you can run these budgets. And I once heard that a very smart businessman said, when you get in trouble, it is the worst time to make decisions on how you get out of that mess. You need to be able to, in your drawer, already have plans. What if I lost my job? What if I take a 20% pay cut? What happens if my wife loses her job, we don't have the second income? This tool will allow you to do what ifs. Maybe you want to plan, what if I'd really like to take my wife on a trip to Hawaii for her anniversary? What do I have to do to get to the point that I have the cash to be able to pay my bills and to make it through? You're also going to have periods that, like we talked earlier, that you may have enough cash and make a profit if you could get to the end of the year, but all of your profit may be in those last months from retail sales at Christmas or snow plowing, but you may not have the cash in the middle of the summer to be able to pay for your taxes, to be able to pay your insurance bills. You may be out of business before you get to the period when your cash comes in. This tool in real time, as you enter your actual expenses and income, lets you track how much cash you will have, both projected and actual, at the end of months as you put in your actual expenses and your actual income, and it will adjust the projected numbers for the future. I believe there's people out there that this tool will save you from going under. I believe this tool will help you to know where you're at, and you can't get to where you want to go unless you know where you're at. I've seen in classes I've sat in where wives were upset with their husbands because they couldn't figure why he wasn't successful and able to pay the bills. And if the wife knew what he was up against and could see, if we did this and this would change our lives. I've seen amazing changes in people that looked at this tool. I've seen attorneys that have taken the tool when people came in, and even as a better example, a pastor in a church that really may not be trained in finances, but finance is one of the biggest reasons for divorces in America. And to be able, a non-educated person in finances that doesn't have a degree in that, or that's not his area of expertise, can sit down with individuals and say, here's where you're at now, and be able to print out a budget in less than an hour that tells them exactly where they're at. And to be able to say, if you made these changes, you could be able to pay your bills and get ahead and start to build something for your children going to college and get them out of the cycle of poverty or of having less in life, that they could do enjoyable things and take control of their destiny. I actually have an attorney that uses it to look at and see if a person, is in a situation that he's bound for bankruptcy, what he could do to change that by plugging in these numbers. On top of that, the tool goes one step further. Everyone may not use this tool, but I think that 90% of the people, or 95%, even if you're just a person that does a personal budget, but maybe your wife has a job and you have a job, and maybe you do engine repair on the side, or you do some things to bring in extra income, like most families right now that may be struggling to make ends meet, that it does a thing called global cash flow analysis. You can say, I want to pick as one of the companies here's my personal expenses for my groceries and my utility bills and my house, and here's this little engine repair company that I have over here, and here's what I'm getting income and expenses over here. And you can combine as many companies or as many entities, one being your personal income and your business, together to see what the net effect from all of the different income and expense sources you have, to tell you overall on a month-by-month, year-by-year basis exactly what the net effect. Maybe it leads you to the conclusion that that's a business you shouldn't be in, it's not profitable, and it's costing you more than it's worth. It may lead you to believe that it's a great business, you need to expand it. It may be the thing that says, hey, we need to start another small business to help implement, but it's called global cash flow analysis, and the banks now want this. If you're a small businessman and have 2 or 3 entities, which is very common in the business world, most small businessmen as entrepreneurs. My banker once said that a true businessman believes, given enough time and money, he can make anything happen. He said they always need just a little more time and a little more money. And there's a lot of truth in that, but a lot of times they go out and start additional businesses. This lets you track individually the separate businesses, but also brings them together and shows you what the global net effect of both the business and your personal expenses. The tool can also be used for a church where a pastor wants to get a budget for the general fund and a separate budget for the busing ministry and one for the tape and audio visual ministry, and break it all down so he can give a separate budget to each department. You can do this in a company also, a separate budget for each department to make sure that they abide within their budget. And the confidential information that may be his salaries and information can be in a general portion that only he sees, and it'll do a global effect of all the departments coming together to give him the net effect of the company or the organization like a church. So with all my heart, I believe this is the best product that I've ever seen in my life that will allow me, and I looked, I couldn't find anything that would do this. There was just nothing out there that would allow us to both track the cash flow, the budget. If it's out there, we don't know of it. And so I think you're going to love the product. I think it'll change your life. We call it the aha moment when people look at it and they start to use it. You become addicted to the tool. So I hope with all my heart this is a blessing to you, and from this point on we're going to tell you more about the product. And thanks again, and we hope you become a Budget Cash Flow follower. Thanks again.